Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Infotech Research Group's ongoing research into the AI market landscape. My name is Thomas Randall, a research director here at Infotech. Delighted today to have Job from Assert. Hello, Job. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Thomas? Good to be talking to you.
Yes, no, very well. Thank you. Now, Job, tell us a bit about yourself and Assert AI.
So we started Assert AI 5 years back to the day. So we saw the computer vision in action for the first time when I was visiting China. And that's the genesis of it. In 2016, end of 2016-17, when I went to China, I saw things happening in an embedded system inside the camera, things like facial recognition, number plate recognition, and I was literally blown away. Came back to India, got in touch with a couple of my close friends with whom I went to engineering college and MBA with, Nitin and Shalabh, who are my co-founders today in the journey of Assert AI. And we started the company. In the first couple of years, it was difficult going. We were getting our product ready. But by middle of 2020, when we got our first client, which was a kind of a large mall where we were trying to give them analysis on how many people have come in, how much time do they spend inside the mall. That was our first client, India's largest mall. In the middle of 2020, after COVID, when they were restarting, government had regulations on how many people could be inside at any given point in time. They had no way of knowing it. In general, COVID was a great boost to people using computer vision. So we call us as COVID child. That was our first client in the 2 years when the COVID was there. We onboarded a lot of our clients, and today we are possibly India's largest computer vision pure play computer vision company. We expanded into US about a year back. Our third co-founder, Shalabh, whom I mentioned briefly, is based out of US. He was building the US business of large data analytics company called Latent View. So he joined us on board, and we today have decent presence in US. US and India happen to be geography where we have primarily been focused on. From this year onwards, we are also adding Middle East to our team.
That's fantastic, brilliant. And so the a core industry that you mentioned there was retail that you started in. Has that remained a dominant vertical for you, or what other industries stand out as needing Assert?
Yeah, so two tenets that we established for ourselves that this is what we will go after. One was that we will do on-prem deployment. By that, I mean that video feeds will not go outside of the client premises. It will be processed and analyzed in the client's premises itself. The second thing that we, kind of took it on ourselves, kind of a hard thing to do, but we will surely make all our, solutions actionable. That it should be something which a client is acting on. So when we looked at both these things and where we can actually generate ROI for the client, a couple of industries quickly stood out. One was warehouses, because a lot of stuff which a computer vision could do in warehouses are stuff which they are already doing, but with a lot of people. Can we increase the productivity of the people? Things like how much is the time that trucks wait in their docks, how much is the packet loaded, unloaded, whether the SOPs of loading, unloading is as per the plan, whether there are any pilferage which is happening while any of these dock activities. So that is one industry which stood out. And today, warehouses and the dock part of large industrial houses form about 60% of our revenues. Retail would be about 25 to 30%, and the remaining 10% would be energy, etc. But while I mentioned that retail is where we started, it's by some sort of design that we pivoted towards, serving large industrial houses and warehouses.
That's brilliant. So yes, retail, but then back to warehouses, yard, docking spaces. And I appreciate that you say that this is an on-premises deployment, that you don't take any of the video footage or the analytics or data out of the customer's environment. Is that for privacy reasons? Is it for security reasons? What was the rationale behind keeping it as an on-premises deployment?
So this is our architecture, and I pulled this out specifically to answer your question, as well as to give you some more bit more nuances on how we deploy it. So a typical client of us, as I mentioned, is warehouses and industrial setups. So the number of cameras that are already there would be much larger than a retail outlet. Like when we onboarded our first client, we were typically deploying with on 10 or 15 different cameras. But today, an average client of us in one industrial setup would be about 100 cameras and 10 different type of use cases. Now, what's the difference between a retail setup and an industrial setup? That in a retail setup, typically you're trying to understand the customer behavior, wherein you don't mind sending that feed outside your system. You can analyze it on cloud, you can analyze it on vendors, computer servers, you don't mind any of that. While when you're talking about large industrial customer, like for example, Johnson and Johnson or GE or customers like that, the data of their industrial setup belong natively inside their factory, right? It should never ever go out because it contains the secrets of what they actually are making. So to that extent, it is but imperative that any vendor who is willing to work with them has an ability to work on-prem. Second, by design, when we work with hundreds of camera, to give you a sense of the amount of data, about 100 camera, 1 hour video or 2 megapixel camera would be about 100 GB. So in a day, it is 2.4 TB. While the data that customers are generating has been going up exponentially, the data speed has been going up linearly. So today there doesn't exist any way, if you are decided to deploy it on hundreds of cameras, to take that feed outside of the customer premises reliably and to give and to process it and send it back on a real-time basis, right? So all these things put together means that vendors like us, who at least want to be or have the aspiration of being the leaders in this domain, need to be able to deploy it on-prem, making sure that it is running 24/7 and it is generating data which the customer is able to use on an almost immediate real-time basis. So that is what we do. It's a much more difficult one to pull it off, but that is the nature of the industry that we are, kind of involved ourselves with.
I really appreciate showing the reasoning behind that, and the number of different cameras that different customers or prospects might be a whole different range of providers and different types of cameras. How does Assert AI make sure that they can integrate well with all of these different hardware models?
Fortunately, there are 3 types of devices from which we get video streams. One is CCTVs, which would be about 90% of the videos that we get. Another 5% would be drones, and another 5% would be mobiles. First let me cover the last 5%. Drones would be for applications like inventory management. When people are actually doing inventory count at the end of the month, it's a manual process. At least in India, everybody does it manually, that they shut down eye by eye, go and count and see whether they are placed at the right side, right? A drone can do that work much, much efficiently because the drone needs to fly. It can either do the processing while it is flying, which is what we call that edge processing, or it can do a processing once the video has been collected inside the GPU. But again, this data can never go outside the system, right? So even if it's doing on edge or inside the customer premises after the flight has been done, right? So that is 5% of our business. 5% on mobile, that, this is typically used in a quality type of test where things are going in front of them. Instead of manually checking whether this is acceptable, non-acceptable, they click video streams or images, push it so that it comes to a central server, and whatever analysis they need to do, it gets done. So that again, you have to make a mobile app with an ability to take that processing, take that video stream outside of the mobile device, but we deploy it in something called a central GPU, right? We don't process it on mobile cameras, right? So these are the 5%. The remaining 90% is on cameras. Fortunately, there is the cameras all follow a universally accepted protocol called RTSP, RTMP, but RTSP is the most commonly used protocol. Once they follow RTSP, once we know the make and model of this, it is very, very simple to integrate for the camera stream to be passing through the GPU and for the board to analyze it. So as soon as we get an access to customer RTSP, if the GPU device is inside the premises and it's on the same network as the cameras and the DVR or NVR as the case may be, all we need is the make and model, IP, login password. We should be able to get a real-time streaming coming inside the code, and then the processing would start and do it. 99.9% is how I would guess of cameras today follow the same universal protocol. That's the benefit of standardizations that people like us are able to build on.
Yeah, very, very good. Now, the source of data that you're collecting there, I mean, to give me a sense of that, there's going to be probably different pain points that different customers in different verticals are going to come to you with, saying, we need to capture X or we need to capture Y or Z. What are those broader pain points, and what specifically do you find is the data that your customers need to find out the most?
Yes, I'll share my screen again. I'll take you through those couple of slides that I mentioned because I'm trying to make a point here, right? So this is a pie chart of different type of use cases that we have deployed at our customer premises, right? Actual real life deployment. So you would see in terms of number of use cases that have been deployed are primarily in the health, safety, and environment types. Why? Because those rules and regulations are quite different in each of the environment. Like in your system, somebody might want to do something and then, wash your hands, right? While in my system, somebody has to wash my hands and touch the machine, right? So they are all health and safety and SOP type of standard operating procedures that one needs to follow, but they can differ in a client-by-client environment. Hence, the number of use cases that you will see in a health and safety type of use case will typically be large, but an inventory in your system is the same as inventory in my system. Your requirements would be to count the inventory to make sure that they are kept in the right stack. My requirements would be the same. Similarly, about operational analytics, how many packets are coming in, how many packets are going out, what's happening to my packet, or a theft, or a productivity improvement. They are broadly along the similar lines. A quality improvement could again be very, very difficult. What you want to assess in your manufacturing plant could be very different from our manufacturing plant. So all this to say, while, these are the 6 broad categories inside which we bifurcate our use cases that we have deployed. Bulk of it land under health and safety. But if I look at it on a revenue basis, bulk of our revenue must be coming today from operational analytics and inventory management type of use cases. Here, I've also mentioned the industries. Bulk of our revenues come from warehousing and manufacturing, and about 30% from retail.
Very good. Now, why do you think it is that the bulk of your revenues are coming from inventory and operational analytics? What is it about those two areas that there's most demand?
Yeah, because you can see your return on investment quite immediately. These are the activities which people are already doing. For example, in a dock area, the example that I gave earlier, at least in India, there would always be an inspector who is manually verifying stuff. If there are 100 packets that needed to be loaded, there would be, somebody who is actually making a note of whether 100 have been loaded. If the trucks are coming and waiting there are people who are actually making a note of what is the truck number, what time did it come, what time, did you start loading, how much was the wait time, did the truck go out on time. Now, this is a function. So what I'm trying to also derive it is, it's a function of where we are in terms of adaptation of computer vision. So when the computer vision initially in the first 3 years, which is, our life cycle of actual deployment is, we had to go after stuff which people are already using it and improve the productivity, which is what we do. This is, an application which people readily understand that, okay, what is it that you will do inside our system? Once this is established, then people say, oh, this is a valuable tool. There are a bunch of other stuff which I wished I could do it. I had no way of doing it. Like there would be hundreds of violations which are happening inside. I have 3 people who are monitoring it, and they possibly monitor 10 violations happening in a day. But I'm sure there are hundreds of violations happening. Can you get me exactly how many violations are happening? And, can you assign the responsibility to a relevant person who can actually then go and do it. That comes as the next step. And once that step is conquered is when we come to quality, because that is kind of core to a manufacturing plant, wherein, there are established inspectors, established people, expertise which goes into it, which is actually making and seeing whether it is good to go, etc., etc. That is further down the list. So it's a function of how old are we, how old is the industry, with our own set of customers, with people whom we have been working for 2-3 years. We actually make sure that we are doing some quality type of use cases with them, and that's when you get integrated. That's when you grow with the customer.
Excellent. A couple of benefits that you mentioned there for why I would implement this product. I think you said number one is improving productivity. Another one is compliance, training, health and safety. Another one is quality assurance. Are those the main benefits? Have I missed any of the other major
benefits? Inventory is a big one, because in all these manufacturing plants, we are either on the manufacturing dock side of things or actually warehouses. Inventory is a big pain. Even things like that I mentioned, we do with drones on inventory management. The headache is that they would do only monthly. So whenever they have to find out inventory put away accuracy, they stop activities in that particular right, manually go and do it. So not only is it intensive and you have to stop the operation, but there is a constraint that you can only do it monthly. While with drones, you can do it 4 times, right, in a month. And your put away accuracy should ideally go much, much better. So those are other things which I think need to add.
Excellent. Now, the scale of the customers that you provide for, how small, how large can you scale this for? I imagine there are going to be some warehouses that are going to be huge, right? And some docking areas that are going to be huge. What's the typical size that works best?
Yeah. So for us, and I'm not saying that this is universally. I'm only talking about how we think about it. So from the time we started, we only went after large clients for two, three big reasons. One, when we started, we had none of these use cases established, right? So if you are going ahead and deploying the solution, we ideally wanted people who can pay for it. The ability of large customers to pay for something meaningful remains, there. Second, from the demand side also, who were the early adopters of some of these things, some of the technology? Surely large customers, right? So even from that side, there was a match. But what happens is once you have developed the use case, to replicate it is much, much, much easier. Right. So if in an industry, you have solved the problem of inventory, you know that these are the 10 things that somebody needs to look at it. Can you have a solution for that industry and cover everyone inside that industry? Yes, we can. So, but once, you are adding a customer, we try and see customers which are large. Once we are going to a new geography, we try and see customers which are large, because their pattern could be different. When we went to US, same is the approach that we will go after large customer. But once this is done, then there comes a scenario wherein your computer vision model is good enough to work in a plug and play type of model. Right? At least it will give you 80-90% accuracy. Then there comes about 70-80% of the businesses which are good with that kind of accuracy. So, in a sense, there emerges these two barbell, on both sides. One, on this side, where you do heavy customizations, which has been our target segment, you have to spend 3 months with them, develop the solution, customize with them, integrate with them, everything. You have something on the left side, which is say 60-70% of the businesses, where you don't need to do customization. Whatever you have developed for them, can you productize it, deploy it at their end, but it works within lesser level of accuracy. And are they happy for it? But we don't charge them for any sort of customizations. The area in the middle is the area where at least we struggle to, kind of serve, because they require customization. They don't want to pay for it. So we avoid that. So we have two models today. This is a model which has been our traditional enterprise clients where we do everything. We make sure that the solution works. Everything is integrated inside your system. And we are increasingly developing product. I will show you a demo of how that works because there doesn't exist a product in computer vision industry yet. There doesn't exist anything in the world where you can upload a video and see what sort of analysis you can do. There are stuff that you can do on the AI, but that is our main focus. By next month, the product would be launched for the world, but I'll show you a demo of what I mean by that. Right? But this is the strategy on where we are.
That's brilliant. Very excited to see the demo there now. But just before we get to it, of course, there's elements of artificial intelligence at play in the products. How does Assert AI understand artificial intelligence? Do you have a way of thinking about artificial intelligence? Is it machine learning? Is it generative? Is it predictive? Is it something else? What do you think of when I say AI?
So for us who primarily operate in the area of computer vision, right? Our mission and thus kind of remain unchanged for a large many years that we have been around is that can we mimic human eye behavior? Now, what do we understand by human eye behavior? That if as a child, I've seen hundreds of activities, and if I see 101st activity, can I make a sense of what activity is this? Activity, object, detection, anything, right? That all should ideally be doable. If I see defect on a, windmill plant, if I understand it, there is something that I've learned over the years that I've been on the earth, basis which I understand that this is a defect. All those in our understanding comes from the data that we have seen over the last many years, and a way of being intelligent about it, right? So there are some ways on how this data is processed. So the intelligence part of it, or the algorithm part of it, that is keeping on evolving. There are better algorithms which are coming. There are some modifications that we are making. There are fusion of algorithms that we do, right? Second, but the reliance on data is huge. So if you have more data, if you have more real life data, if you have understanding of what defect means in the real life, we should ideally be able to do a great job of it. Right? So this would be the broad paradigms under we put it, right? Algorithm, can you fuse many algorithms together so that it works in an industrial setup? Because if you're not serving consumers who would be happy with 60-70% accuracy, but if you're serving industries for whom accuracy is paramount, right? Then we need to work on the entire set of algorithms, try to see what is best, or we fuse it together, or we put in several things under that so that it makes sense. But can we get access to real life data and a lot of real life data? Right? Fortunately, by spending time and having clients with whom we have deployed, we get access to clients' data. And once we get access to client data, then there needs to be a feedback loop that wherever we are making mistake, can that be used for training? It doesn't make any much sense for me to, see the data of, if I want to identify people wearing glasses, people whom my AI model is actually correctly classifying, more and more putting that data doesn't have. I just need to know whom is it wrongly classified. Is it the glasses on somebody whose forehead is, small, large, etc. That it is, Then we need to have that feedback loop inside the system. The organization needs to be such that we are actually happy with the failures that is happening, as long as we have a way to use that failure for training. Once we do these three steps, then our vision of actually whatever is human eye seeing, is there a way of us to mimic that? That slowly starts becoming reality. It's a long path and it requires, doing all these three things together, but we attempt it. Then it is on our hand, whether a new use case when it comes, whether we want to attempt it, would it make financial sense for us, whether the data requirement is huge, whether the, amount of compute requirement, does that justify our efforts, etc., etc. But that is in our court. We can make that decision. That is the place we want to be. But we have these three loops ready for use.
Fantastic. And I appreciate the emphasis there on data and the need for lots of it to be generating analytics and insights. What should customers do in preparation for using Research AI? Do they have to do anything with their data to begin with, or do you come in and provide recommendations?
So first, because most of our customers are, and I'm talking only about today, I'll also preface it by, I'll also go back and say what will happen, in my opinion, 2-3 years down the lane. But today, all our customers are first-time users of the product, right? It doesn't make sense for me to go back to them with a big laundry list of things that they need to do. It would fatigue them out. They would ideally not understand why we are doing what we are doing, right? So it's always very important that whatever customer has given us, can we run it on them and show what we mean by that? Because the AI model actually works in a spectrum. You can start with a 60-70% accuracy and you can go to close to 100% accuracy, right? If you have 100 camera setup, if I deploy it on your system, look at it this way, that on 90, it should be working as we promised you. Say 95% accuracy, 99% accuracy, right? It's very important for me to come and tell you, see the 100 cameras where we have actually deployed. On these 90 cameras, you don't have to worry about it. This is your product. This is how we have integrated. Go start using it. On the remaining 10, you see the problems, that this is blurry, the angle is not right, this is not right. So whatever you are getting on the remaining 90 cameras, change these cameras, improve the camera quality, change the angle, replace it, etc., etc. They are more than happy to do it. That is primarily because they are the first-time users. But when a customer is increasing with us, they already know what sort of infrastructure would be useful for them to get maximum benefit out of this, right? And this I'm talking generally, but if it is for things like quality, etc., the video streams or images that we would need would surely be better. So we can in fact ask the customer to put in additional 5 cameras, right? 8 megapixel camera if it is required, etc., etc. But we typically try and avoid it, primarily because we don't think customer will appreciate that. 2-3 years down the line, once customers are actually benefited from computer vision, that is when we can have a healthy, meaningful, knowledgeable dialogue with them on why we intend to do it differently, right? And why they should do it differently, not now.
Very good. Very good. Now, that's probably a nice segue into the demo itself.
Yeah.
To see it in action.
So this is the, first of its type computer vision. And what is the logic that we started with? There are, I mentioned that 70-80% of the users, they should ideally be happy with the plug and play type of model. Second, what is our cost, Thomas, is basically the 6 months that it takes for us to onboard a customer, to do the POC with the customer, and to deploy the solution, right? Is there a way for us to meaningfully cut that? So that was the genesis of, why we started thinking about productizing. Now, if you are a CEO of a company, okay, and you are non-techie, all you want to see is what can computer vision actually do for you? Like, for example, I don't need to educate you on Gen AI because I can direct you to go here, go to Midjourney and see what Gen AI can do for you, right? Today, you have to take my word for it. That I have done this, and this, and hence I can do it for you. There doesn't exist any platform where I can show you what computer vision can do for you on a no-code basis, right? So what I'm going to show you is, suppose you are a CEO and you want to deploy your solution, you just upload a video and you will get, say, a screen like this, okay? By the clicks of mouse, suppose you want to do, entry-exit count, okay? By the click of a mouse, you show that this is where I want to do entry-exit, and this is my entry and this is my exit, for example, okay? This is where I want to do intrusion, that anybody who goes inside, I just need to get an alert, okay? Things like this, that I want to count the number of people inside the queue. Okay? There doesn't exist anything like this yet. You can build use cases after use cases, right? And which is what we are attempting. This platform is called Pratham. Pratham means first, and that is what it will be launched on February 14th, which is next month. Suppose you want to do speed estimation, by clicks of mouse, you can define where do you want to do the speed estimation, right? If you want to count the number of vehicles, everything. All you need to do is, if you are owner of a small business unit, you just need to give the camera details. It's actually making the engine. So let me halt it here, right? But you get the sense, and this will all be deployed in a platform called Pratham. So on Feb 14th, this would be live. You would be able to go in the mobile app or web dashboard of Pratham. You can upload your video and you will be able to run whatever analysis you want to run. Let me just take a minute. So you can select video like this. The video will get uploaded. You can define. So these are the different type of use cases that will be ready on Feb 14th. Things like overcrowding, speed estimation, ENPI, number plate recognition, fire and smoke, helmet, vest. You can just add what are the use cases that you want to add. You can mark the cross safety, everything under the control of the user. Okay, and you will be able to save it, run it. This doesn't exist. We have already filed 4 patents for it. It's in US and India. There's on various stages of happening. There doesn't exist anything like that. That's why I said that I would love to show it to you.
No, this is fantastic. I mean, it's great that you've already got all of those templates there already, or options there ready to go. So in theory, then, how long do you expect it to get up and running? Say if I'm using it from day one. Oh, so February 14th. But in terms of
February 14th,
but if I want to implement it, how long do you expect me to take to get up and running? Does it take a week, a month? What do you need?
It will take 0 days. It would take 0 days. That is the intent. Whether we start with 6-7 different use cases which we are very comfortable with, or with 20 use cases, that is the question mark. We are testing various things on how much is the accuracy that we are getting. We will do 0 customization. This will run on cloud. These are not running on your premises. We are not shipping you anything, but the product will speak for itself. You don't need to speak to us yet. Right? If you want to deploy it, go ahead, deploy it. We will not do customization for it. It will possibly work with 80% accuracy. But what we have, what is great behind it is that our ability to get data increases tremendously. Any data that you upload, possibly, even a small video that you upload, if you display your satisfaction or dissatisfaction with it, if you are displaying your dissatisfaction, that is a raw material for us, right? Because that goes into our training module, So whatever we start with an 80% data, in a year's time, if we get enough people to use it, we will have a product which many would not be able to write in it. If all it needed was to think differently on what are the customers that we want to serve. By this, I cannot serve my enterprise client because it cannot start, by definition, it cannot start with 99% accuracy. But by definition, if we can start with 80% accuracy, I'm happy with it, provided there is a meaningful way for me to get the 20% inaccurate back into the system for me to get better. And that is what we literally strive to do, to get better.
That's brilliant. And so that I was going to ask if over time the solution will get better, right? As you say, it will learn. Yeah,
absolutely. I need 1 year. So the retail use cases that I give you, if people are actually doing a thumbs up and thumbs down, that's all I need, and then we need 1 year for this to be a template which then anybody in the world should be able to use it with. In 95 or 99, it all depends, right? How much is the data and what are we actually doing with the data, and how much is the people on the back end working on it. But surely it will be in a place which would be so much better than anyone else could, because I have data from everywhere in the world on different type of retail use cases, right? How do you rival that? No algorithm. So if I have choice between more data and better algorithm, I would go with more data. And that is what we will achieve. A, it benefits the customer. B, it that doesn't require any customization. C, when my salespeople are actually meeting customer, they don't ask the customer to take their word for it. They can actually take their video and show them what it does, so that they can actually see it. That okay, this is what it will be able to do, and B, we get better.
Very, very good. And so the model that you're training over time, is that the cert's own model, or are you using any other types of models? I think you mentioned like Hugging Face earlier, or that might have been in reference to another point.
Yeah. So I'll say this way, that the algorithms or the way to use different model, that is not developed by us. So do we use standard detection models? Do we use the standard neural net architectures? Yes, we do. What we actually always do is, how do we combine 2 or 3 different type of models? Like for example, I'll give you an example. If it is detecting smoke, okay, in an industrial setup, I cannot just keep on throwing alert for every time a chimney is throwing some smoke. Right? It will be bizarre for me to keep doing that and saying that there is a smoke inside your system. So there would be a detection model which will come and which will give a smoke. Then there would be another model which is basically comparing it with whatever is supposed to be happening inside the system. Right? So once you always need to do 2-3 different type of things combined, and then you are looking at it possibly not only in one frame, but looking at it after every 5 frames. If it's a smoke from a chimney, it ideally would have separate characteristics. Now, that's not in deep learning model, that's in simple coding. All these things come together, the customer at the other end. So again, because it's not a consumer that we are serving, it's a large enterprise customer. They are active on it, or we are integrated inside their system. So the accuracy requirements of them force us to think about it differently and deploy it differently, right? Which is why I say when I deploy something like Pratham, which I was showing you, I don't have that ability to do it, right? So it will, if you take, this one from here and work on smoke, I think it would work with 70% accuracy, right? It will give a lot of things inside at least a factory as smoke. I would not be able to help it. With millions of data, maybe I'll be able to be better at it, right? But those are the nuances. So we have filed, and we have actually been granted patents for things for inventory tracking, wherein we have not used an algo which is our own. We have combined algo to give an accuracy which is better than any of the existing accuracies that anyone can get. But it is not our algo; it's how we have combined it to get an accuracy. So,
what's at the typical costs that your customers are going to have to invest for access to this product? And on top of that, what's the percentage return that you think roughly a customer is going to get from that investment?
I'll answer it, and I'll try to be specific with some broader example. So with our customer, we made it very simple. You give us monthly recurring revenue. Or except on quality use cases, wherein we try to see what is the value that you have captured vis-a-vis what is the value that we should capture, right? Whether it should be 5% or 10%, we come up with an assessment on how much is it saving for you and whether we can take 5 to 10% of it, right? So that is typically our benchmark on quality use cases. For other use cases, we charge based on number of cameras and number of use cases. So if it's a 100 camera setup, you give us this much every month on a recurring basis. Now that doesn't break your bank. For example, if it's a 100 camera setup in say US, okay, and 100 camera setup where you are doing bunch of say 8-10 different type of use cases, like you are counting the number of boxes, you are actually running a bunch of health and safety type of use cases, SOPs, etc. We would charge something like $10,000 per month. okay, or $120,000 per annum. That in our way is actually cost of 1%. Right, the $120,000, cost to the company would be around that much, right? Insurance and everything together. In that, couple of things that on the doc analytics side that we do. If a person was actually manning one doc, he or she should be able to man 5 docs. If the error percentage was 1.5%, the error percentage should come down to 0.25 to 0.5%. Health and safety, I don't know how we can actually come up with a number, but there are established patterns of Heinrich diagram, etc., that these many near misses actually contribute to one major accident, and one major accident lead to, these kind of. So there are, for the large companies, they have the internal benchmark on how do they look at the cost of, one small accident. We always go to a customer whenever we give a proposal that this is the potential saving that we'll have. Even in our first proposal, we try to see whether it's a 20x saving, whether they're able to get 20x saving from day one, or it happens after 1 year, or they are only able to get 10x, or they are able to get 50x. I am typically unaware of those nuances. Nobody shares that with us, but we try to make a case for that there should ideally be a 20x cost saving on this. Our billing starts only after the solution is running, which we have agreed upon with a certain level of accuracy after their test. So they don't pay us a dime till the time the solution is actually running. So to that extent, there is not anything that they are investing in. If it doesn't work with 99% accuracy, they can ask us to just go home, and they haven't invested anything. We don't change the cameras. We work with the existing infrastructure, see whether it works. You agree upon it that if it works, of course, you start paying it. But that's the only commitment we'll ask for. And we try to see whether we can generate a 20x today.
Excellent. Well, look, Job, I really appreciate the transparency in the answer there. Now, as you look ahead in 2024, obviously it's getting off to a strong start. We've got the new products coming out. What does the rest of the year look like for you? What are you most excited about with the products?
Yeah. So one, I'm very excited about the product that I showed you, right? My effort will be that whatever we develop for enterprise client, can we productize it? Can we productize it? And not only from our perspective, but also from industry perspective. If I can actually show in an average retailer, average warehouse owner, that there is a bunch of these stuff happening, right? Why don't you use it? I think many will use it. Whether they use us or any other vendors, that's besides the point, right? As long as the industry keeps growing, in my opinion, everybody will keep growing. So the onus of a computer vision explosion happening, the onus lies with the vendors like us, right? I'm very thrilled that we are actively thinking about taking part in developing that ecosystem, right? And I think that should benefit everyone. There could be many other things that other vendors are doing, which I'm unaware of. But this is actually doing it on web platform is what I really know that we are doing. And I'm thrilled about it, and I'm excited about it from an industry perspective. Second, everyone that has already been using computer vision in some way, form, manner, are 70% of them are using with their in-house teams. For example, an Amazon or a Walmart. I know they have teams which are using it, and they go it use case by use case. When an Amazon decides to, kind of use computer vision, they are using it for, check-in counters, wherein you pick something up and nobody is actually seeing it, and there is that happening. You are actually limiting yourself by keeping it in-house, in my opinion. There are hundreds of things that you can do, right? But all hundreds of things cannot be done by your house team. You will have to get, vendors from outside. Even guys like Amazon are kind of limiting themselves on how much they are seeing the potential of it. Maybe I am too biased to see the potential of it as unlimited. By the, that's me. That really is me. I see the benefit of it touching every aspect of what an industry is doing. And for that to happen, it needs to be very, very visible in your face. Today, nobody, uses a chatbot, with archaic tech, right? You have a GPT plugin, and that's the better way of doing chats, right? There needs to be somebody who needs to do that. Okay, we need to do computer vision here, right? Who is the best partner for it? Who is the best vendor for it? That are the questions. Whether we need to do computer vision, where all do we need to do computer vision? I think by the end of the year, that would change. Especially starting with people who are already experimenting with computer vision, either with their own team or with vendors outside. I think that is a big change that would happen sometime this year, and would accelerate in 2025 and beyond. What I really believe.
And now, with artificial intelligence and all of that, do you have any particular insights on where you think that's going? Anything that you think people haven't realized yet about how it's used and its potential, or maybe its threats in some way? Any last thoughts on that front?
So, 2-3 things. One, there is big misconception that it's a panacea, it's a cure-all for everything. There are 99% of the people who are not using it, and 1% of the people who believe that AI is a cure-all, who are far from it, right? That would be like selling snake oil. It's not. It's not a cure-all. There are many things. While I say that we can mimic the human eye behavior, there are many things, which are constraints and limitations on some of these things. And that I see remaining there at least for the next 4-5 years, right? So to that extent, it is not a cure-all, but is there a space for it to be used with human in the loop? Oh, surely. That we are scratching the surface. A person who is manning one dog, can he or she man 5 dogs? Oh, yes, absolutely. Will there be, mistakes by AI? Sure. Will it be lesser than human? Yes. But with AI and human, can you reach a level of action proficiency that you would desire in your organization? Yes. That is the, kind of Goldilocks zone that, somebody needs to reach it. So, all the things that vendors are promising that it's a cure-all, I don't believe that to be true, at least not for the foreseeable future. B, whenever a customer asks us that, deploy it and it should run automatically with 100% accuracy, I take a step back, that I cannot do it. We cannot do it. It would work, provided it sends you alert, you establish whether it is correct or not, it comes back to us, we take that 3 months feedback, then we come and give you, okay, this is a better version of it, you iterate over it. If you want it to be actionable inside your system, you have to give us a leeway of few months. You have to give us a leeway that it will never be 100%. It can be better than human accuracy. Right? So those are the difficult and, kind of mature conversation that people need to have. But over a 5 to 10 years period, it's an exponentially improving curve. And whenever things move exponentially, improve exponentially, really my mind bubbles at the potential.
Fantastic. Well, Joe, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you. Now, where can our members go to find out more about Assert AI? What's the website? Where else can they find out more?
Yeah, so our website is assertai.com. You can do a Google search of Assert AI. You can go to the website directly, assertai.com. The product that we will launch, on February 14th, that would be on a website called prathamlive.ai. That is prathamlive.ai. I would urge everyone to please go and give it a try. It's free. At least for some time we'll keep it free. Upload your videos, see what all you can do with it, and look at us at LinkedIn. We regularly post some interesting material there, and on YouTube. I hope you will find some interesting material there as well.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much, Joe, and all the best for 2024.
Pleasure, Thomas. Pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for taking the time, and it's fantastic.
All the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.